Sorry.
Okay, Chair, we're now live on YouTube.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you're actually in the Zoom meeting itself or watching on our YouTube channel, welcome to the Macclesfield Town Council's full meeting of the 29th of March 2021. I am David Edwards, the Deputy Mayor, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. Firstly, some housekeeping, as they say nowadays. Not that I do much housekeeping, but due to the coronavirus COVID-19 restrictions and in line with the local authorities and police and crime panels, coronavirus flexibility of local authority and police and crime panel meetings, England and Wales, regulations 2020, this meeting will be held remotely, broadcast on YouTube, and can be viewed on the Macclesfield Town Council YouTube channel. Right, and then also, could I ask that the councillors or any visitors remain on mute until you are invited to speak? If you wish to speak, can you simply raise your hand? With so few councillors, 12 at full strength, it works fine at our meetings. I will endeavour to keep a list of speakers should there be more than one at any one time, and I fully expect to be corrected by our clerk there. Right, we're going to move on to apologies for absence. The clerk will in a second be reading out a short statement from our Mayor, Councillor Sarah Bennett-Wake. I have also received apologies from Councillor Lloyd Roberts. Over to you, please, Clerk.
So I've received a statement from Councillor Bennett-Wake, the Mayor of Macclesfield. I'm sorry I can't be with you this evening. Sadly, my mother passed away after a short non-COVID related illness, only 11 months after my father. My heart goes out to all Macclesfield residents who have lost loved ones in this last year, whether COVID related or not. We haven't been able to give them the send-off they deserve. Please take some time to remember all our loved ones lost and those who cared for them. It's such a difficult year, but I am so proud of how the Macclesfield community has pulled through, supporting each other in the most difficult circumstances. For that, I am truly grateful. Please remember to be kind to yourself, each other, the community and the environment. With kindest regards and humble thanks for all your kind words of support. Councillor Bennett-Wake.
Thank you very much. Nice words. Item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest for tonight's meeting? Councillor Jackson, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have a non-pecuniary interest in item 8.2, which is the CAB quarterly report. I'm a trustee at the Citizens Advice Bureau.
Good, thank you. Any others? No, good.
I'm sorry, I don't seem to be able to get into the meeting at all.
We can hear you fine, Councillor.
I know I could hear me, but I can't open the.
Do you have any declarations of interest?
No, no, thank you. I don't have any.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll press on and see how we get on. The meeting will now be adjourned to invite comments and questions from members of the public. We have 2 speakers tonight. They will jointly be given 5 minutes to speak, after which time a card or a bit of paper will be held up, a bit like that, yes, with 1 minute left to speak. Our 2 speakers tonight, I take it, are going to be speaking on 14.2 on the agenda, and they are Andy and Becky Thompson, speaking from Macclesfield Hospitality Association. Welcome, Andy and Becky, and your time starts now. You're on mute at the moment, so take the mute off and you can go ahead.
Great start. Use of technology there, Beck. Well, thanks for having us folks. It's really good for us to be able to put across some of the things that we're trying to achieve, and just to kind of put you guys in the picture as to, you know, what we're trying to do to help our town. So I guess Macclesfield Hospitality Association, we kind of put ourselves together during the kind of first humble beginnings of the pandemic, whilst it was starting to take shape. We run a technical services business, which is wholly aligned to the hospitality sector. That's what we do. We look after the technology in bars, restaurants, hotels, and other hospitality venues. So instantly we were affected by lockdowns, and we completely lost all of our customer base, etc. So it was with that in mind that we thought, right, well, we've got not much to do. What can we do to help? So we got together with a stack of hospitality providers throughout the town, and we created something called Macclesfield Hospitality Action, or Association, one or the other. It ends in A. It starts with an A, the last word. We basically had three key aims when we came together. As I say, we got together with a whole host of different operators in the town to see what we could do. So number one was to be a conduit of conversation between all of the operators in town, to Cheshire East Town Council, our local MP, and anybody else that could be of assistance. The idea really being that if there's one voice for all, then that would make for a much easier kind of conversation between everybody. The second key aim really was to try and push for as much outdoor space to be provisioned for our operators throughout the town. We were, you know, we in an ideal world, the kind of absolute beauty would be some space in the town square where our operators can operate some additional services and, you know, increase their revenue on a kind of rotational basis. Both, you know, keeping our operators alive and also just generating some better economic activity in the town and keeping it fresh for our townsfolk and businesses alike. And thirdly, we just wanted to provide an outlet for ideas to flow freely between all of our operators and to be a kind of hotbed of information. You know, if we've got an operator that's got a plan to do something and they make us aware of it, and another operator is planning to do something, then bringing those guys together can often make for a better experience. So that was kind of the three key aims that we have, and we still have. We're a not-for-profit organisation, and so we do this out of the goodness of our hearts. Essentially, we just want to go for a beer as often as possible. But we have the interests of the town operators, businesses and residents at our core. We're currently going through the rigorous process of registering as a community interest company. Have to say that's Becky who is doing that. So we've got less than a minute. So Becky has quite a lot of experience in that area due to her work with Spark, which looks after South Park. And just briefly what we've achieved so far. So we're currently working with Town Council, Cheshire East Council, the highway guys and whoever else to get the area outside on Marketplace that used to be the disabled parking bay, which has now been moved. We've got a funding bid in with you guys to try and assist with the provision of tables and chairs and planters for the area. Hopefully that's moving forward. We seem to be getting there with Cheshire East, and it's been really nice. And well, we should find out tonight, shouldn't we? But it's been really pleasurable, you know, trying to be that bit of glue that sits between you guys, CEC, the operators, and hopefully, you know, we can use that as a blueprint to move things forward in the future.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andy and Becky.
Thank you.
We'll be debating that a little bit later on. Item 3, if you would like to mute and turn your, to leave the meeting.
Andy and Becky, if you want to leave the meeting, you can watch us on YouTube.
There we are, yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Item 3, minutes of the meeting of full council, 14th of December 2020. We're here to approve the minutes as a true record of the meeting. Do I have a proposer for that? Thank you very much, Councillor Wilcox. And do we have a seconder? Anybody? Yes, thank you, Councillor Hutchison. And we have to have a vote. I was not present, so I will be abstaining. Can I have a show of hands, please, to approve the minutes? Thank you. Anybody else? No. Thank you very much. I think that's carried. Matters arise.
Sorry, I'm not on the. I'm sorry, Chair. I'm sorry, Chair, but I'm not on the. Not on the computer at all. I'm sorry about that. I can't see me at all. I only can see
you
people.
Perfectly well, Councillor Harewood.
You can see me.
Yes. Yep.
Oh.
You're wearing a rather nice purple dress tonight.
All right. Well.
Red curtains behind you.
Wait a minute. Let's see. Participants, invite, chat, record. I can't see it. Oh, it's something wrong with the computer. Then I can only see 2 people.
Can you just pop yourself on mute, and then we can just
yeah, of course,
carry on. Anybody wish to speak matters arising in the minutes? Yes, thank you, Councillor Wilson.
I was just thinking if Councillor Harewood would actually click onto the view box on her computer, and if she then selected full screen, she should then be able to see everybody apart from herself and the person who's speaking. I just think that might help her be able to see all of us. Yeah.
Top right.
Yes.
Councillor
Harewood, if you click onto the view button and then select full screen, you then should be able to see all of us apart from just you and the person speaking. I hope that's helpful.
So can I move on then? So there's no matters arising that interests anybody to speak? Okay. Item 5, minutes of the planning committee. I think I'd better take these individually because I think somebody might want to speak on that. We're just here to note the minutes to start with. Yeah. And now we're going to move on to matters arising from the minutes of all the planning meetings. 5.1, minutes of the planning committee, 18th of the 12th, 2020. Anybody wish to speak on that? No. 5.2, minutes of the planning committee, 15th of the 1st, 2021. Anybody wishing to speak on that? No. 5.3, minutes of the planning committee, 5th of the 2nd, 2021. Anything on that? No. 5.4, draft minutes of the planning committee, 26th of the 2nd, 2021. Anything on that? No. Okay, we move on. We got off lightly there. 5.5, character assessment report. Now, excuse me, there is an action in this to consider the recommendations. It's on page 54, if anybody wants to look at that. And I understand, who would like to speak on this? Is it Councillor Hutchison? Yes, please go ahead, Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, you'll all be aware that we have a conservation area appraisal being carried out by Donald Insall at the moment, and that is involving consultation with right across town, lots of different areas. This conservation, this latest one, I've got the conservation, excuse me, I'm getting confused.
The character assessment.
Sorry, the character assessment, yeah, is another aspect of planning that we're looking into. And Councillor Wilson and Councillor Jackson and the town clerk and the governance manager and myself are working on this committee on behalf of the council. and it is to it's really to try and create an extra planning document which will carry some substance with planning at Cheshire East, and we are looking to get that approved tonight at this meeting. Councillor Wilson, I think, is going to say a little bit more.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. There are a series of recommendations for us on the agenda. First of all, in respect of the character assessment, that we invite a quote capped at £10,000 to appoint a planning consultant. This money has been budgeted for, so we're not making an additional allocation. We invite the tender to come forward to assist us with a character assessment. The evaluation of quotes and the selection of a consultant is delegated to Councillor Hutchinson, who's chair of the planning committee, and myself, Councillor Jackson, town clerk and admin and governance manager, and then that we report our recommendation from the evaluation to the planning committee, and then we then submit a report to full council on the appointment of the consultant. This is exactly the same process that we adopted for the conservation area appraisal. It's really important in planning terms that we are able to, over time, develop a document that can be taken as a material planning document for planners and developers, and council planning officers do have to take notice of as part of their deliberations on planning applications. It's to enable the town council to have a document it can go to set our policy on many issues that reflect the character of our town. So I'm happy to second the proposal for to seek funding for the planning consultants and go through the process as outlined in the document, Chair.
So am I clear that Councillor Hutchinson is proposing
I'll propose
the recommendations and you are seconding, Councillor Wilson? Excellent. Can I have a vote on that, please? A show of hands. Good, unanimous. Thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor Jackson, I beg your pardon.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to speak on 5.6 in matters arising.
Yes, just coming to that one.
Oh, right, okay.
5.6 Conservation Area Appraisal Update Report. This is just to note the report, but I understand that Councillor Jackson would like to speak. So please go ahead, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you. Well, it's just very briefly, just to report back really on the Conservation Area Appraisal Review. This has been set up for the Town Council to undertake a review in absence of Cheshire East, who aren't able to do it, and we have agreed that we will do it and we will fund it. And as has been mentioned before, Donald Insall are the consultants who are undertaking this piece of work. After having had a full tender process, we had 9 applicants, and Donald Insall were the consultants who it was agreed would do the work for us. And we've had an initial meeting with them in February, and they're now undertaking a desk-based research and also doing some on-site surveys. And in fact, a number of councillors went out last week with Kate from Donald Insall to have a walk around the conservation area, looking at various aspects. And I think we all found it very useful, and particularly for Kate, who's doing the report. A draft appraisal will be coming forward in mid-April, and it will then be consulted on by all the members of the groups that we have been having meetings with and getting their input. Just very briefly, there so far have been 3 workshops. The first meeting was the initial meeting with the council, Cheshire East, and a number of officers from Cheshire East, and so on. And a lot of issues were discussed. Then we've had also a workshop on heritage, and that was the Victorian Society, Macclesfield Silk Museum, and a local historian took part in that. And we've also had a general stakeholders local interest workshop made up of faith groups, disability bureau, business representatives, market representatives, and so on. And everyone's had their opportunity to give their views. We are still wanting to have the final workshop, which is with the schools, and we're making contact with them, and we hope to have that scheduled before too long. So lots of information is being collected. We're having a lot of engagement with the residents and the public out there. And once we get the draft forward, and it's also been consulted again by our groups, it will then go out to Cheshire East for a public consultation. So it's just to inform everyone of the process and how it's going. All our minutes, all our information is published on our website, and these minutes and these papers, these reports can all be seen on our website for anyone who's interested to find out what's going on. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I'd just like to add a personal note. I know just how hard Councillor Jackson, Councillor Hutchison and Councillor Wilson have worked on these two items, and I would just like to show my appreciation for all the work that they put into it. I think you've done a great job on it. Item 6 is the minutes of the Finance Committee. We're going to first of all note the minutes, and then we're going to go on to 6.2 matters arising, and I understand that yes, Councillor Puttick would like to speak on this item. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks. I would like to propose that we approve the 2021 spend date of £444,127. Thank you.
Right, good. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Yes, thank you, Councillor Wilson. Does anybody else wish to speak? Would you wish to speak on that at all, Councillor Puttick?
Well, no, no. Simply to say that it's well, simply to say that it's that we've had very good finance committees with visions for how we can work well for the town, and I fully commend it. I think it's very positive looking at our budget as we go forward.
Thank you, Councillor Puttick. Let's move on then. I think we have to have a vote there, do we? Yes, it's been proposed and seconded. Can I have a show of hands then in favour or otherwise? Thank you. Item 7, minutes of the Services Committee. We are here to note the minutes and any matters arising. Does anybody wish to speak on this one, please? No? Right, excellent. Well, let's move on. Item 8, community delivery. And I'd like to invite our new Chief Inspector, David Moores, to speak, please. Thank you, David. Take yourself off mute.
I know David's struggling with connection. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you get me. I've put some comments in the side. My camera is causing some interference. Can you hear me okay, Councillor Edwards?
Yes, fine. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Hello. Yeah, I'd introduce myself. I'm David Moores. I've taken over from Jez Taylor as the Chief Inspector for the Macclesfield LPU. So hopefully I'll be with you for some considerable time and participate in your council meetings. I don't know if there was any specific areas that you wanted me to cover today, or I'll obviously stay for the duration of the meeting and obviously answer any questions that fellow councillors have.
Has anybody got any questions for Chief Inspector Moores?
Yes, I can see a couple of hands up. So, Councillor Jackson, I saw your hands go first.
And then I'll go to Councillor Wilcox.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. Yes, there have been a number of issues lately on Central Ward with antisocial behaviour. It's a really difficult issue that we have numbers of people who are have difficulty with their housing. They may have to, you know, they're resorting to tents in certain areas. We had a particular one with in the churchyard at the Salvation Army on the Citadel there on Rose Street a couple of weeks ago. But it is a really difficult situation for the residents and for and for the people themselves who are suffering like this. And I just wanted to know what you've been experiencing out there and what advice you can give on how we can address it.
Yeah, it is a thank you for that. It is a very difficult situation. However, a number of the people that are homeless in the town centre have been given other provisions, to take up other options that are available. So I don't know if you're aware, but on a week ago today, we had an operation. It was called Yellow Scrapping. I didn't choose the name, but it was a number of police departments from across Cheshire who did a number of high-profile policing. A number of arrests were made, 6 in fact, in relation to a number of people that were drug dealing in the town centre, and also a number of fixed penalties were issued, along with other proactive measures. That's something that we are going to continue to do on the town centre. Obviously, we don't want to victimise and target people that are genuinely homeless. However, there is a lot of, as you've mentioned, a lot of antisocial behaviour that's going along with some of these people that are taking advantage of being able to stay in the town centre in tents and call stays. So it is something that's very much firmly on my agenda to clear up the town centre. And there's a new inspector that's just landed as well this week, Gareth Beasley, who's the new inspector for the town centre, and it's a conversation that we have had this week about plans of how we're going to tackle that going forward. So I'm certainly aware of it. I know Mr. Rutley MP, David Rutley, has raised it from a number of residents as well. So it's something that's firmly on the agenda. So I hope that I can reassure you that it's something that we are looking at.
Thank you. That's really helpful, and I'll leave it at that. I'm sure that there are other councillors who want to come in with their questions. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Chief Inspector Moores. May I bring in Councillor Wilcox, please?
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, David. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Macclesfield Town Council for the meetings. I just wanted to ask a question in relation to antisocial behaviour as well. I'm not too sure if you're aware, but there's been a heck of a lot of antisocial behaviour on the Upton Priory estate in Macclesfield, where there has been a large gathering of youth sort of Friday, Saturday evening. Potentially, from what I've been informed, alcohol is involved as well, and the people partaking aren't of legal age. Is there something that you can reassure the residents on the Upton Priory and Broken Cross in relation to tackling this antisocial behaviour as well, please?
Yeah, I'm aware of the issues up on Upton Priory, and it's something that the beat managers and the sergeant have been paying particular attention to. But it's something that we will continue to. Certainly with the lighter nights that are coming in and the easing of lockdown, we anticipate, unfortunately, a lot of people taking more advantage of this, more antisocial behaviour. And as you know, it's not an excuse, it's a reality in relation to the patrols that we actually do have. However, I do know that Upton Priory does feature highly in relation to antisocial behaviour. All I can offer is, again, the reassurance that certainly myself being the new chief inspector, antisocial behaviour it's a blight on us and as a police, and it's something that we want to, you know, respond to the public, because it's I don't want it on my doorstep, so I don't expect it to be on yours either.
Thank you very much, Chief Inspector Moores. Anybody else wishing to speak? No? Could I just ask something, if I may? And that is that when I saw the Chief Constable and the Police and Crime Commissioner a little while ago, I raised the matter of the Silk Road and the motorbikes and cars tearing up and down there. I seem to not do very well through the Police and Crime Commissioner's office. It takes about 2 months to reply each time, and I raise different questions. I understand that Operation Scrambler was used, and the Chief Constable seemed to get the wrong end of the stick. I read through the Operation Scrambler blurb on the internet, and it refers to cars and motorbikes, and off-road and on-road. And I understand that that's how more or less they got the supercars in Alderley Edge to be, as it were, going up and down. The Silk Road is pretty bad. I should think Councillor Hutchison can hear it from your house, can't you? I must live about a mile away, and I can hear the bikes and the cars going up and down there. It's a very short period of time. It's Friday nights, Sunday afternoons if it's sunny, and that sort of thing. I did see the other day that a car was parked on like a sort of ramp outside AstraZeneca by the roundabout by McDonald's, and there was the police car with a police presence there, and the cars were visibly slowing down and behaving, let's say. I've asked and asked before whether a police car could be put even in the lay-by going north from the Tesco's roundabout. Even if the guys are just doing their paperwork, it'll slow the cars and the bikes down, and it'd be very helpful. But perhaps we'll talk one-on-one again about it. Thank you.
You're right about that. You're not the only person that has raised that before. I have asked Inspector Finnegan, who is our traffic inspector for that for Macclesfield LPU, and there are plans to continuously have operations set up on that road. But you're right, it's an arterial route, and having officers, even if they are doing their paperwork, it can deter people from speeding. But that stretch is very much very high-powered vehicles, and people seem to like to show off going up and down that stretch of road at high speed. So it is there, and we do plan on. I don't know if it was yourself, Councillor, that raised about the noise nuisance as well, but we've had noise nuisance aspects, and that is again something that we are looking at doing. There are methods of doing that. So again, it's something that we are looking at doing, and hopefully we'll see some results soon with that.
Thank you, Chief Inspector Moores. Can I bring in Councillor Wilson and then Councillor Harewood, please?
Yes, thank you very much, David. It's very nice to meet you this evening, and thank you for coming along to our Town Council meeting. I hope this will be the first of many occasions that you come to speak to us. I would like to ask you, on behalf of the residents of Macclesfield South, to feed back to your officers our thanks for all the hard work that's been going on during the COVID crisis. We all know as councillors there's been a significant increase in antisocial behaviour, and also a lot of pressure on individual residents. And the Police and Crime, David Keane, the current Police and Crime Commissioner's record in making sure that each beat has got both a beat bobby and a PCSO is really making a difference. So can I please ask you to feed back both to the officers and to the Police and Crime Commissioner that we are very, very delighted with the service and support we're getting. In the past, there have been some issues about a lack of officers on the beat, but that has now been dealt with, and that we really do appreciate that all the officers concerned are dealing with a lot of additional problems during COVID-19, and want to thank them for the work they do for the community and working so hard along with other councillors to make a difference. So if you could pass our thanks on, that'd be appreciated.
Councillor Wilson, I will do. That's very kind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Can I call Councillor Harewood, please?
Oh, thank you, Chair. I wondered if I could bring to the Commissioner's attention that there seem to be increased drug dealings in the footpaths of Kendall Road, increased recently. While there was some problem on Kendall Road itself, it seemed that it's used as a run in the evenings. I did mention it to the police before, but I wondered if you could pay some attention to that, because what I'm getting from the residents there is that there's increased, cars are stopping there, especially in the evenings, and there's increased drug dealing and that's a place that has a number of bungalows, and so I've had a lot of complaints from that area. So if you could bear us in mind that, because around that area, as I don't know if you don't know it, there are no streets, just footpaths. So it becomes a kind of warren where people can just run through all the time. So if you can keep that in mind, that'd be good.
Councillor Howard, yeah, no problem. I've made a note of that. I will feed that back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Inspector. Anybody else wishing to ask any questions? Anything else that's arisen? Any more? No? Well, you're off the hook, sir.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you very much for attending. We do appreciate it, and it's very nice to actually have a word with you. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Right, 8.2, Citizens Advice Bureau. This is just to note the 2021 Q3 report. I would just like to add that we believe as a council that they do fantastic work, and we really do appreciate it. I beg your pardon. Councillor Jackson would like to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just second those words. Just to really let people know that, you know, the CAB is there, is still working, is still providing a fantastic service to our residents, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic. And they can't do the face-to-face meetings that they would love to do, but they are there on the end of the telephone. You can contact them via the email and a web chat. So they try and meet everybody's needs, and they're working as hard as ever. And in fact, they're getting prepared for when things do ease up, that there probably will be, unfortunately, quite an influx of extra work required for them. And I'm really pleased with the support that this town council gives them. I think, you know, it's for all our residents, and I think it's fantastic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Puttick, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just to second what Councillor Jackson's really saying there, that the Citizens Advice Service is quite incredible, really, and you know, the likes of the BBC and different people may be realising that they're having to claim universal credit for the first time. And a lot more people are realising how necessary it is to have information to help them with their employment and their sort of and their ongoing well-being. I think they've you know, actually just, I mean, I've one as a councillor regularly encourage people to get in touch with them as a way forward, and I just think that it should be noted that, you know, that once this crisis is lessened, they'll still be providing services as they have done for, you know, for many years, and I just think it needs to be mentioned again. So thanks for all their work there.
Thank you, Councillor Puttick. Any more speakers on that? No? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 9, business delivery plan. There is an action here to approve the business delivery plan, and I'm going to ask the clerk to introduce this item, followed, I understand, by Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. So this report is in line with the budget that we agreed in December. It's more detailed of each line and what we will be looking to spend the money on, and what is we've got in contingency. as we're further along and we're getting to year end now, there is a few things I'd like to note, and I'd like to put some things in earmarked reserves, only because we are, the work will be done this year, but we're not going to spend the money till next year. So one of those things is the extra cameras we agreed for the CCTV, the 2 mobile cameras. I would like to move £7,000 for those to earmark reserves. That's item 30 on that list. For the Visitor Information Centre, which is item 35, the SLA is actually for 30,000 this year, and in the budget it was for 25,000. So that's just a correction. And for item 38, we are having 2 parks, or play areas, sorry, currently and we're working on for us, one at Lannet Walk and one at Banbury Park in Herdsfield. And we have budgeted 100,000, 50,000 for each park. And I want to move it to earmark reserves till it's done, so we can pay it from that, so it doesn't affect next year's budget. Everything else is all the projects and events that will be going on, really informative piece of work with that Helen has put together. So yeah, I hope it gives you some more meat on the bones for all the budget. If anybody,
thank you very much, Town Clerk. Sorry, did you not finish?
I was to say, if anybody wants me to explain that again, I'm happy to.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, would you like to come in here?
Well, yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you to the Town Clerk for going through the budgetary arrangements. As we approach the year end, I think it's important for us as a council to look back at what we have actually achieved during the last 12 months. And I think it has been a significant achievement on behalf of the residents of Macclesfield. Town Clerk's just identified 3 major projects we've been involved in, but you can see that we've increased our staffing arrangement to provide additional support for our town centre recovery plan. We're increasing the rangers to provide additional support for public realm improvements, which we actually receive the most positive postback on any item that we do. We've got ambitions for public toilets in the town hall. We've got ambitions for significant number of projects and events which our Helena Gowler, our events and manager, is organising for us. Those events this year have been disrupted by COVID-19, but we have delivered on virtually every occasion a virtual form of event. And working with residents, working with the community in Macclesfield, I think we can look back over the last 12 months and see what a significant amount of achievements we've made on behalf of our community. And looking forward to the future for all the things we've got planned for the next 12 months, I am certain, as the Town Council's Town Centre and Recovery Champion, that's going to go a long way to recovery of our town centre for all of our residents, those residents that live and work in the town centre and travel to the town centre for their work or for their shopping needs, for their entertainment needs. I will, in a minute, I will move the recommendations that are contained in the report, in particular about carrying forward those 3 items to earmark reserves. There's just one very small amendment in the paperwork, in that the range of excellent Christmas items we've got organised. It says the Christmas light switch on event is on the 21st of November, but I think that should be the 20th of November on the Saturday. Other town councils may wish to speak about this ambitious programme to implement our strategy. But at the end of the debate, if we could come back, Deputy Mayor, I'm prepared to move the recommendations that need to be moved. But I see that another council indicated to speak already. But I do think we should take this pause to say, you know, looking back and looking forward, how all the hard work of all our residents and councillors are leading to a really ambitious programme, of which I'm very, very proud. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Puttick, do you wish to second that, or do you wish to speak?
Yes, Chair, but particularly to mention the fact that looking forward to the youth street activities, for example. There's a range of ways that we're really looking to really make a difference in things that I know a lot of us as councillors take a lot of pride in take very, very seriously, such as the making sure the playing out scheme for Macclesfield is able to carry on in the next year. It's absolutely crucial. COVID can't beat us, if you like. You know, we need to make sure that these things can carry on. So yeah, just wholeheartedly second the proposal.
Thank you. We've had that proposed by Councillor Wilson and seconded by Councillor Puttick. Does anybody else wish to speak before we take a vote?
Chair,
Town Clerk.
yeah, Chair, could I suggest that we also put the earmark reserves in and the budget? Okay, I'll let.
Yeah, I just, if I could perhaps speak again, please, Deputy Mayor. I was just wanting to hear what other councillors had to say before moving the formal proposals. We've got 3 proposals here. One that we approve the delivery of the operational services and projects that have just been run through by the Town Clerk. Any other as unidentified spend awaits definition and approval with our financial regulations, which we're about to reconfirm for the next 12 months. And then our strategy, which is ambitious and lists a number of items for us to approach in the 4-year period that we're all in office. In particular, the asset transfer of the South Park Pavilion and the lighting up of the Middlewood Way, which we will be looking at later on the agenda. But finally, there were 3 items that were moved to earmark reserves. There was item 30, the extra CCTV. There was 35, there was the SLA. I think that was an amendment, wasn't it, Clark? Yeah. So there's 2 items, the extra CCTV of £1,000 and the 2 park play areas of £100,000. Both need to be moved into earmark reserves because they're projects for this financial year we're currently in, but they won't be paid for until the next financial year. So we need to make this clear to the public and take this agreement. And to be fair, we had the same situation last year with the parks and play areas. They always take a long time to come to fruition, but they're always worth the wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Puttick, are you happy to second that?
Very, very happy, particularly the last part about seeing people finally able to enjoy Windmill Street Park is you're completely correct there. So yeah.
Good, thank you. Can we take that to the vote, please? Those in favour of those? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Excellent. Right, moving on. Item 10, governance review that needs an action to approve the following governance documents. I think what we'll do is, if we may, because there's going to be a number of speakers on this, is if we take them individually, but then vote on them as a group, if we can. Is that okay, Town Clerk? Is that okay?
Yeah, if that works for everyone. Yeah, that's fine.
10.1, grant policy. I understand Councillor Wilson wishes to speak on this.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. The grant policy, the grant and donations policy amendment, you will have seen from the Finance Committee minutes that we took under agenda item 6.1. These have come about as a result of a detailed discussion at the Finance Committee. So I'm very happy to speak on behalf of the Finance Committee as the Vice Chair of Finance to say that we very much want these amendments to be endorsed. The amendments partly reflect the new grant we brought forward, the micro grants. We now have a range of 3 separate grants. We have a micro grant of up to £250, and then we have small grants of between £250 and £2,000. Sorry, and then above 250 grants between £1,000 and £2,000 can be applied for. So we've got the small grants of £100. We've got, sorry, I'm getting that wrong. I'll start again. We've got the micro grants of up to £100. We've got the small grants for up to £250, and we've got the large grants up to £2,000. My brain's getting ahead of my tongue, I think, this evening. And we amended the policy to introduce the micro grant. But there's also an issue now with our increased governance arrangements, which we adopted at last year's in last year, that the council committees can now award grants up to £10,000. But the fact that additional monies are available is not something that is known widely to the general public, and we think that we should definitely make sure that the public are aware that you can make requests for larger grants. So as part of the amendments of this grants policy to mainly introduce the micro grants, we've also, as you'll see from the Finance Committee minutes, asked the clerk to come forward with a policy of dealing with grants between £2,000 and £10,000, so that we have greater transparency for people who may wish to make a grant request. and they understand the great responsibilities on them for making a large grant request, which I think it's sensible that we actually correct the anomaly between the fact that committees can now grant larger funds, and larger funds are available, but our grant policy only covers grants up to £2,000, and we need to correct that so it's clear what the requirements are and the responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I cut the town clerk out. I think you wanted to introduce this item as a whole. Have you anything to say?
No, Councillor Wilson has covered it. Thank you.
Excellent. So anybody else want to speak on 10.1 grant policy? No? Okay. 10.2 Services Committee, terms of reference. Thank you, Town Clerk.
The only change here is actually the date, and then it's been looked at by services and they're happy with it. So the only change is actually the date that it was reviewed.
Good. Anybody else wish to speak on that? Councillor Jackson, thank you.
Yes, just to say, Deputy Mayor, as Chairman of Services, yes, we're quite happy on the Services Committee with these terms of reference. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Let's move on. 10.3 Financial Risk Assessment. Does anybody wish to speak on that? Thank you. Town Clerk.
Just to say that these are reviewed annually. So this is the annual review of the financial risk assessment.
Good. Anybody else on that? 10.4 Financial Regulations. Anybody wish to speak on that? Yes.
Again, it reviewed annually, and the only changes this time were the Finance Committee had a slightly different name, so changed the name of the Finance Committee. And as Councillor Wilson said before, it just needed updated that other committees can have agree spend up to £10,000. Thank
you. 10. Anybody else on that item? No. 10.5 ICT policy.
I'll take. Can I take 10.5 and 10.6 together?
Of course, yes. I think that's.
So these are all the councillors will know we've been having cyber training recently, etc. And so the admin and governance manager has updated all our policies in line with these on antiviruses, etc. And she's just moved bits about. So for instance, the virus one, antivirus is moved into the ICT policy out of another one. So these are just updates from that training that we have done.
Excellent, thank you. So taking 10.5 and 10.6 together, does anybody wish to speak on those? No, fine. 10.7, Councillor Intimidation Guidance Document, which is a new document, and I understand that Councillor Shenton wishes to speak, and then I'll come to Councillor Harewood after that.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so this is something that came across Personnel Committee, and it's basically giving councillors the tools to minimise risks and sort of handle intimidation, that sort of thing. Obviously, we all respect that freedom of speech is a fundamental right, and that must be respected. But obviously, there is a line where that can turn into intimidation and abuse. So yes, this is just ways to handle difficult situations and sort of give councillors the tools to really tackle it. In particular, the social media aspect of it is something that we thought was quite key. Given that social media is often seen as a bit of a grey area in terms of abuse. I think people sort of see it as a bit of a free pass at times to say what they want when it's behind the screen. So it's just a way for councillors to be aware of what they should and shouldn't accept, essentially.
Thank you, Councillor Shenton. Councillor Harewood, would you like to come in, please?
I think Councillor Shenton has covered that quite well, because I'm sometimes reluctant to say that I still get quite a bit of abuse, and I would like to look at that closely to see what I can say and what I can't, because a lot of it is so unbelievable. But I'm glad there's a tool there now that I can look at that and address it, because it's a kind of belief or disbelief that goes on, and I'm too grateful for it. So thank you, Councillor Shenton. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harewood. Anybody else on that item? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, as Councillor Shenton said earlier, this is a document that was actually discussed and put forward by the Personnel Committee because of our concerns about the intimidation that councillors were experiencing. And there's one item in it, there's item 5.1. I want to ask the Town Clerk about this. It's about the potentially violent persons register, and we weren't certain whether such information will be available under current GDPR regulations, and I think we're possibly still waiting for clarification. But if the clarification comes that this information isn't available, we may need to remove this section. But I think it's just worth flagging up that there is a question mark over whether this information is available. And I think the Town Clerk may have to have an update for us.
Yes, what I propose to do is actually take it out of the policy for now, and then if we can get access, it's like a database of potentially violent people. So if you as a councillor were going to visit someone, you might be able to check it. It's but I don't think we will get access to it, so I shall take it out, and then once I've done my investigation, find out if we can get that information, I will put it back in. But for now, I'll take it out, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Town Clerk. Anybody else on that particular item? No. 10.8 risk assessment, and I understand that Councillor Wilson would like to address us with that.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is another document that has been dealt with by the Personnel Committee, and as Chair of Personnel, I just wanted to flag up, first of all, our thanks to all of our staff who are all now, as most of the nation is working from home, but just to make sure that both the councils are fully aware and the public are fully aware that we're taking great care of our council staff. And you can see from this document the arrangements we've brought in to be COVID secure, both for the public and for the council team staff. And I wanted to just say thank you very much to our staff for all the work they've done, and for us to note as a council in our debate that we have a very, very clearly defined and implemented COVID strategy to protect our staff and the public with our council work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Anybody else wish to speak on that one? 10.9 ward budget policy. Let's start with Councillor Buttick.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that I think that this, as a policy, this is an excellent way to make sure we get equitably support councillors in their great work directly with their wards and in their communities. And I think it's worth noting particularly that this is essentially a catalyst to get local people working more directly with their councillors. And the questions very much in the application is like, how will residents benefit, but also how will residents help? And this is absolutely key to the work in this council, that we mobilise people and we get them involved at every stage, from the bins and the benches, to much more ambitious things. I think Councillor Harewood most definitely knows, there's an awful lot more you can do if you can galvanise and mobilise people. So I think this is thoroughly brilliant, because it makes sure that we're actually reaching every ward and working effectively.
Yeah. Sorry, did I cut out Town Clerk? Did you wish to speak on this? No? Anybody else? Councillor Harewood, please.
Chair, I'm grateful for that comment, because the one thing I needed to say, and I hope I don't sound not grateful, £500 wouldn't do a lot, because I have a couple of projects going on, and I'm getting estimates for thousands. But I'm still grateful, because I will access all that I can access, as I have two big projects going on that I want to produce and finish this summer. So thank you for that, and I'll come back to you to ask for money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harewood. Does anybody else wish to speak on this? No? Sorry, was that Councillor Buttick? Was that? No? Good. Right. So if we could move this, action to approve the following government's documents, and it's all of them together. Do I have a proposer for this? Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Wilson, are you proposing it? Or
Did the town clerk want to speak again, Chair?
Yeah, it was just to say to accept them with the removal of 5.1.
I beg your pardon. Yes.
10.7.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, I'll move the acceptance of all of the documents, agenda items 10.1 to 10.9, with the exception of document 10.7, the removal of paragraph 5.1. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Harewood. Can't hear you, Councillor Harewood, I'm afraid. Right, we can.
Thank you for that. Have we got a date when this will come back? Can we ask for that? For when 10.7 will come back, please? Can we ask for some time balance on when this will come back?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harewood. The town clerk?
10.7 is approved, apart from the one paragraph 5.1 about the potential database of people who may be violent. So we'll take it out for now, and I'll keep trying to find out if we can get access to such a database. And if we can, I'll then put it back in.
Thank you, town clerk. Right, we have a proposer with these couple of amendments. Do we have a seconder for this, please? Thank you, Councillor Harewood. Can we have a vote, please? Show of hands. Thank you very much. And we move on onto a new page. Item 11, internal audit, to note the report and updates on actions. It's on page 223, I reckon. 223. Town clerk, do you have something to say on this, please?
Yes, I completed a remote internal audit in January. There was 3 actions that were quite minor that have all been dealt with, and so it's to the report's been to the Finance Committee, and it's to note full council so that we can prepare for the annual accounts.
Excellent. Does anybody, this is just a note, but does anybody wish to speak on this? No. Okay, we'll note it then, please. Item 12, play areas and parks, action to consider the proposal within the report. The proposal is on page 234, and I'd like to invite, first of all, the clerk, town clerk, to speak.
Yes, so as in the budget, as we have been doing annually, there was a £100,000 budgeted for parks and play areas. Within the report, we can see from the past few that currently this year we're doing Herdsfield and Upton and Broken Cross. We did Windmill Park, which was Macclesfield South and Macclesfield East kind of jointly together. So the one that we will be looking at now that we might want to consider is West and Ivy, and so the proposal is to potentially put 50,000 to that, and then we're having regular meetings now with ANZA, is to during one of those regular meetings speak to them about where they may potentially take some advice from them of where they may see we may spend the rest of our budget. So that doesn't mean we have to spend it where they say, but get some advice of what might work and what might be good to do. So the initial proposal would be to put in £50,000 for West and Ivy.
Thank you very much, town clerk. I understand that Councillor Hutchison would like to speak. Thank you.
Yeah, to use the fine words of Councillor Puttick, first of all, I think that the ability to galvanise and mobilise people has been greatly reduced over my time as councillor. I do feel that we've had some poppies put up along Earl's Way and around the bird sanctuary, and we've had a litter pick in the area, but then it all came to a grinding halt. And but it's nice to see that Western Ivy is now in line for some investment with play facilities. And the next step really is to get full consultation with the residents of Western Ivy, and I'll discuss that with the town clerk and think of the process of consultation with residents to allow the opportunity for as many as possible who would wish to comment or to ensure they're able to do so. Getting access to residents and their opinions would, is top priority. Then I'll obviously liaise with Councillor Harewood in order to think about the exact location of the park within Western Park or Phil's Way, and the type of play area we want, the quantity of equipment that we can get in there, and perhaps really importantly, the quality and robustness, if that's the word, of the equipment, to make it vandal proof if possible, so it's longer lasting, and perhaps even a process of aftercare for that. And I think if we get residents involved in using the equipment, and they may be able to, and certainly if they've got my contact details, they could get in touch with me really quickly if there's any problems, because as we all know, if you act on very quickly on repairs, then it stops the rapid deterioration. So we want something that's robust, that's valued, and to think also about the age range that we're aiming at here as well. If we're limited to 4 or 5 pieces of equipment, then we've got to think about how we facilitate that. So there's a lot to think about in terms of quality and who we're catering for, and I think the more thought we give that, the better, and the more thought that comes from residents, the better in this process. But I'm sure Councillor Harewood and I will be working together to try and produce a really good facility there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchison. Does anybody else wish to speak on this, please? Councillor Puttick.
Thank you, Chair. Just to, well, rather nostalgically go back to pre-2010 when I was, would you believe it, this thing that used to exist called a play worker. I mean, I used to be employed to go out and encourage children to play and to take part, and obviously one of the greatest jobs there is. Sadly, it doesn't really exist anymore because of the sort of the continuous defunding of play equipment. So just to say really that it's actually not necessarily just the equipment, it's about how you use it. I mean, I'll go back to the obvious is when you see any sort of kid with a cardboard box, they make it into something. It's that potential. And just to say that in the planning for this, we should definitely consider how we, Councillor Hutchison mentioned about the continued maintenance and completely, but it's also about how you encourage and utilise that. One argument, looking at Wimble Park, the children playing there don't need any encouragement. They're just off and they're enjoying the space, and it's so wonderful to see the town council providing something that will help them do that. But I think there's a real opportunity as well to enhance all sorts of experiences for young people and children after this awful pandemic, and I just think that we should be quite ambitious about the scope of that, and that might necessarily not necessarily be equipment. It could be thinking about it in different terms, but just to throw that spanner in there as well for you to think about. But in terms of location, I thoroughly agree that I think Western Ivy is definitely an area that its turn has come to have something like this. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Councillor Puttick. The proposal is on page 234, and I wasn't intending to actually read it all out, but I think we all know what it's about. Is to cough up 50,000 towards Western and Ivy Ward's play area. Do I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Harewood. Good. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. Can we have a show of hands, a vote, please? Unanimous again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving on, we have the bus proposal, action to consider the proposal with regard to supporting the 130 bus. The proposal is on page 235 of our pack, and I invite Councillor Warren to speak first.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Essentially, this service is, as it's outlined in the papers, was a service that ran for many years, but Arriva cut their service, just stopped it dead, and another company, D&G, took over the reins, but decided they didn't want to compete with the Manchester buses and decided to terminate the journeys at Hamforth. Now, I was contacted by a couple of residents at the time who were making their way to Christie's Hospital for treatment, and they were reliant on this bus to get them there. So I was aware that there was a problem, and when Councillor Brown from Cheshire East Council put together this bid to subsidise the service for a year at a cost of £100,000, I was quite interested to hear what he had to say. And essentially, he's raised 40,000 from Cheshire East Council, and has asked 5 parish and town councils, including ourselves, to match fund that 40,000. So you can see, by those of you who are quick at mental maths, by us being asked to provide £5,000, it's not hard to work out that we're not bearing the brunt of this extra 40,000. And I'm very happy that we've got the caveats that it's only for a year, and that we would be updated every quarter and into the usage, not only people getting on the bus at Macclesfield, but those who travel from Manchester and other areas along the route into Macclesfield, to understand what it is we get for our £5,000. It may well be that the majority of the usage of the bus is between Alderley Edge, Wilmslow and Hamforth. But I think it's worth us investing this £5,000 for a service that was used, and I know personally was used for good cause, and then see where we are in a year's time, see whether the subsidy is applied for again or not. So I'll let other members come in at that point, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well, I would certainly support this initiative. I think the various reasons around it, we're saying, all the provisions around it, are that we're wanting a report, we want some investigation, we want to know how many people are using the bus, and what distances they're going, when they're getting on, when they're getting off. And the main driver for me was the fact that it would take people from Macclesfield to Christie's, and until we get our own Christie's in Macclesfield, we do have, sadly, a lot of people who need to visit Christie's at Wythenshawe, and if you haven't got a car, it's a very difficult place to get to. So this public service is literally a lifeline, I think, for many people who are suffering and need to go to Christie's. And just for that point alone, I'm happy to support it. But I'm just pleased that we have got the various not restrictions, but the controls to say it's for a year, we want to review then, and we need the information that we can then base that review on. But I'm very happy to support it. And if Councillor Warren is wanting to propose it, I would second it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Puttick.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, I think that what the previous speakers have said is totally true, but it's not just connections to hospitals. I mean, I'm not going to get nostalgic for the second time in the night and talk about all the 1:30 bus trips that I took before I could drive, but but there really is there's a cultural link to that. Broken Cross and Upton, Weston and Ivy, and increasingly with all the house building going on that side of Macclesfield. there needs to be a connection to employment, to Greater Manchester, which of course Greater Manchester is receiving, is going to the next level with public transport and buses, and Cheshire East residents really can't be left behind. We have to remember, not everybody can afford that expensive train ride to Piccadilly, and not everybody wants to go to Piccadilly. I speak to a number of residents in Macclesfield who their family is in Wythenshawe or their family is in Wilmslow, and if you don't have a car, that means you're disconnected from them. So I think this is just absolutely crucial. I mean, we're going some way to actually remedying the end of public bus services in across bits of Cheshire East. So I just think it's vital that we contribute to that and actually really help residents on that side and across the town.
Thank you very much, Councillor Puttick. Councillor Harewood.
Thank you, Chair. Do we know or have we any control when the portfolio holder said that passes can be used from 9:30? Will it apply to this bus as well, and for how long? Does Councillor Warren know? Instead, because the passes what used to be applying for 10 o'clock, and it's now can be applied earlier. That was said in the Cheshire East Council. Do we know
Councillor Warren, would you like to come in on that?
Do you know if you have any control over the earlier use of passes?
I think, Councillor Harewood, I think that was brought in, wasn't it, because of the COVID situation?
Okay.
So as long as the COVID restrictions are on, I would imagine that provision will be made. I will check up. I'll speak to Councillor Brown and get back to you and let you know.
Thank you.
Councillor Harewood, have you got any more questions? Okay, you've finished. Thank you very much. Any more questions? Thank you. Could I just chip in here? Councillor Shenton, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just speaking in support of the motion, as what Councillor Puttick said, it's vital for residents of Broken Cross and Upton getting to and from town. Yeah, I think it's a really strong link, especially when we have the,
I'm afraid.
What's that, sorry? Can you hear me?
It's a bad connection, I'm afraid. Just
all,
about.
All I'll say is, just in terms of the town regeneration plan, which we'll speak on later, I think it's really important that we are being able to get people to and from the town by any means necessary, really, and especially public transport is so good for the environment. And yeah, so for the residents of Upton and Broken Cross, yeah, I think it's a really, really good motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shenton. As I say, I've got 3 questions. First of all, I would like to say that I love buses. I don't like trains, but I love buses. And I actually went on public transport, ordinary local buses, to Hadrian's Wall for a bit part in a film up there, which nearly killed me getting there. And I've been as far as Peterborough Beer Festival in the other direction. And I very nearly got stuck in Corby, but just managed to get out on the last bus of the day. The things that concern me about buses is the price, and I understand that this bus is quite good value. So I hope that I'm going to be okay with that. The amount of people using it is important, and I did a survey when there was talk about the 10 and 10A between Bollington and Macclesfield folding. I sat on a bus from 5 o'clock in the evening till 10 o'clock in the evening for 5 hours, going backwards and forwards, just counting how many people got on the bus. And I promise you, it wasn't very many. I saw that to actually go to Manchester Airport takes 1 hour, 34 minutes or something in the timetable, which seems to put people off doing that. I do understand about going to Christie's and so on, but it's just a comment. And I think that we're putting our toes in the water for a year, and we'll see how it goes. And so we have Councillor Wilson, I think it was, proposing it, was it? Can you tell me?
Councillor Warren.
Councillor Warren is proposing, and who's seconding?
Councillor Jackson.
Councillor Jackson, good. Right, can we take a vote on it, please? Show of hands. Thank you. That's carried. Item 14, Town Centre Recovery Working Group. The proposal for this is on page 236. Do I have any speakers, please? Yes, Councillor Wilson, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. This particular agenda item is for us to endorse the Macclesfield Town Centre recovery final plan. And I think it's worth just having a little recap on the history of this, because the Macclesfield Town Centre Recovery Working Group and the work we're doing that, as Councillor Chenton's just said, the themes run through a lot of the things we've been talking about this evening. All the work we as councillors have done and contributed ourselves, working within our communities to support the COVID recovery. This is just another example of the work we've all been involved in with others. The Recovery Working Group includes representatives from Macclesfield Town Council, that's myself, Councillor Jackson and our Town Clerk. It includes representatives from Cheshire East Council and also from a number of other groups in the town, from the Macclesfield Museum, so we've got heritage covered, from Making Macclesfield, so we've got local residents covered, from Peaks and Plains Housing Trust, so we've got housing, and from the CVS, the volunteer services, and we've got a really good range of groups involved in this working group. And the task for us this evening is to endorse this plan. And it's important to note there's been 2 public consultations that have got us to this plan. The working group first met in September, and by February we had prepared and published this final plan, which I think is no mean feat in all the circumstances. The first public consultation, we listened to what the public had to say. It was Macclesfield Town Council Services Committee that brought this to the fore. It was our Services Committee that listened to residents' concerns and pushed to have this recovery working group. And so I'm very proud that we instigated this. And then at the end of the process had a further series of public consultations, and the plan received overwhelming support from them. There was a number of points made to improve the plan, and those have mainly been incorporated. And we've got subgroups now continuing with our work. We've got a subgroup on communication, we've got a subgroup on the community response, we've got a subgroup on outdoor eating and hospitality, and the next agenda item. And our public speakers this evening were talking about the important work that we've been doing in this area. And we've also got an eco summit planned in partnership with Macclesfield on the 15th of May to create a subgroup on environmental action. So those are the sort of 4 key areas that have come out of the plan. All of the documents about the recovery working group are hosted on the Macclesfield Town Council website. All the paperwork, the plan, we regularly put on our Facebook and social media about the consultations that took place, and we've had a fantastic response from residents. And it's been really, really important work for us, from the initial grants we made of £2,000 to all the wards, to putting hand sanitisers in shops to keep people safe. We've been up and down with COVID over the last year. We've been in a lockdown, we've been out of lockdown, but we've brought forward a plan that has been able to carry us through all of those challenges, and I think will carry us beyond. And so this evening I would like this Macclesfield Town Council, who started this process in the first place, to endorse this plan that has been brought together from concerns and thoughts of the public, and now also consulted with the public. So I ask you to endorse the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Jackson, let's have you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well, I just second everything that Councillor Wilson has said. I'm co-chair of the working group, so have been right at the very beginning. And we have been getting all the different groups that are involved. We've been asking them to endorse the plan. And in fact, on Thursday, I'll be attending the museum, the Silk Trust meeting, the trustees at the Silk Museum. And at that meeting, I will be asking them to endorse the plan at that meeting. And all the different groups are all taking it to their boards and to their meetings. And so far, all the responses have been very positive. I mean, this document is what I would call a living document. It's a document that we're working to bring the recovery to the town, and we can add to it as we go. We can change it as we go. All things have to come through the working group, but any ideas, any changes, anything that people want to bring to us, to the working group, I think it can be considered. And of course, funding is always a big issue, as we know, and that's can be one of the constraints actually over what we can do. So we just have to be obviously circumspect as to what we can do in the town. But we've proved that we have achieved an awful lot so far, and we are working very well with Cheshire East. I mean, that's one thing I want to say here, because I found, I mean, I've been a Cheshire East councillor a long time. I'm no longer a Cheshire East councillor. And so I've had a lot of experience with Cheshire East Council. And this is, I would say, the first time I've really seen the partnership working between Cheshire East and the Town Council. I think it's been fantastic. And I think due to that, we are achieving much more. Together, we can achieve much more than each part, each one on their own. So that's one thing I do want to say. I think I'm very pleased with the support we have received from Cheshire East, and also the support we're giving them. I think we're working well together. And so I would hope that the Town Council would endorse the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Are there any other speakers on this item? We're talking about 14.1 at the moment. Any more? Right, we've got a proposal which is from Councillor Wilson, and we've got a seconder, Councillor Jackson. Can we have a show of hands, please? Are we in favour of this? Yep, good. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to 14.2.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, I beg your pardon.
So I just wondered if we could get Councillor Warren and Councillor Howard just as well, if they were abstaining, or to see if they were.
I couldn't see Councillor Shenton's hand either. Okay, can we have that vote again, please?
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, my connection is terrible at the moment.
Yeah, we've got Councillor Warren.
Can you tell us, Councillor Warren? For or against?
Okay.
Can I just ask, has my vote been registered there? Can you see my vote?
I can see your, yeah.
That's fine. Good. Moving on to 14.2, action to consider the proposal from Macclesfield Hospitality Association, and we heard earlier from them, and I'd like the proposals on page 297, and I'd like to go to Councillor Jackson first, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I just want to thank Andy and Becky for attending our meeting and speaking earlier. They represent the Macclesfield Hospitality Action Group. And I think they're doing a grand job promoting the hospitality venues around the town and trying to get better facilities for them wherever they can, and get their views known. Again, this area of the hospitality is part of the Macclesfield Town Council Recovery Working Group. We have a section in our plan regarding that, and we do have a subgroup which myself, Councillor Wilson, and Joe Wise, a Cheshire East officer, are the main lead on it. We're helping that group. So one of the main things that this group want is the outdoor eating, the al fresco. It helps because of with the COVID situation, people want to be able to sit outside. They feel safer sitting outside, and as we open up, the outdoor areas will be the first for people to go to. So you've seen that Andy and Becky have asked for or their group is asking for support for the planters and some furniture for the first of the outdoor areas, which is outside Five Clouds, that disabled parking bay, which is outside Five Clouds. Now, obviously, this would be using that area of roadway. So inquiries had to be made, and the Disability Bureau were consulted on this. We had to ensure that the disabled motorists would be perfectly catered for, and that their representatives in DIB would be happy with this. And so an alternative area was found for the disabled parking. It is only a temporary permission. It's a pilot study, and so it is a temporary permission there to see how this would work. So the pavement will remain as it is, and the roadway will remain as it is, and there will be a barrier put around it. Hence why the group there in those various cafes are putting forward a request for some planters and barrier, and the tables and chairs, and the amount is for £3,300. The intention is that if this does work well and it's a positive experience for everybody, that we can then look for other areas to come forward throughout the town. And I would hope that we will be able to do that and support the opening up of the town through the hospitality sector. This is a big step, and it's supportive for the for those businesses around the marketplace, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And the permission is obviously via Cheshire East, and one permission has been granted already, I believe, and there's another permission going. It's finding its way through. For them to be able to have outdoor eating. So I'd like to propose this and hope that there will be someone else who will be happy to second it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Wilson and then Councillor Puttick.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm very happy to second this proposal. This is a perfect example of something that's come forward from the Macclesfield Town Centre Recovery Working Group and groups like Macclesfield Hospitality Association pulling together to tackle and support our businesses and residents with the COVID crisis. We're now, I think, today allowed to be outside with other people. Not tried it myself yet. Not sure how soon I'll do that, but many of you will have heard me say over a number of months that we are going to have to get used to being outside a lot more. And I think that is something that we do need to facilitate. As Town Centre Recovery Champion, I think this is an excellent idea. And I'm very, very keen that we replicate this in other locations in Macclesfield. We'll be crying out for this sort of facility. Pardon?
I beg your pardon. Councillor Harewood had a hand up for a long time.
All right, okay. So just to briefly continue, I think that you know, creating outdoor areas in the town centre is part of our recovery plan. This is a good example of us to be able to work with local hospitality groups. It's also a good example of local hospitality groups working together to make this happen. That we know we're all working for businesses and residents and the council to create these projects to be successful, that we can all be comfortable eating outside more. It's also another great thing for our rangers, because the rangers will be filling the planters and maintaining them as part of their duties. So Macclesfield Town Council will directly cover those ongoing costs. But this is yet another example of where our ranger service has enabled something to happen. Because the Pocket Park near the bus station, which is nearly completed, that was paid for by Cheshire East Council, but our residents will be maintaining it. So it's another brilliant example of the Town Council and Cheshire East Council working together to create a pleasant public realm for us to enjoy while we're spending more time outside. And particularly the nice weather's here as well. So I'm happy to second this proposal. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Buttick.
Thank you. And I've just to add to that further, I think as a councillor who's been hearing ideas about this for probably up to a year, it's actually great to see us working with Cheshire East, because ultimately a lot of this is about policies. And when I inquired about various areas, like over the last year, I've often found that there's just nothing's been written about or is in place for it. So it's great to see the actual hospitality industry, the councils working together, and of course ensuring that there's disability access and pavements aren't blocked, as well as the as making sure there's still disability parking. I find it's very much a case of making sure when we're looking after all the residents. I mean, I for one fully welcome a chance to go back to a pub or a restaurant. What is that? I can't remember what that experience is like. But I do think that there's a real opportunity now to. This is the next phase. We've over the last year we've managed to conduct a lot of stuff online. We've managed to do a lot of things in a distanced way. I think my feeling is that the next phase is very much about how we do things outdoors, but in a positive way. And I think that this is absolutely the way to do it. So the only thing I would encourage is that it's not just to return to drinking culture, much as, God, we love it, and sort of, I can think about all the great outdoor events that we've had in the past in the town, just sort of, Oktoberfest and Park Green to name one, but many others. But of course, there's many opportunities to do things that aren't just about drinking. It's about all sorts of different ways for residents to enjoy where they live and have better mental health and well-being. So, yeah, fully approve.
Thank you, Councillor Buttick. Councillor Harewood, please.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this town centre recovery, but I'm a bit apprehensive about the disabled parking areas removed. Did the DIP say they're satisfied with it and it will go somewhere else?
Could I just ask the town clerk to come in? Just 1 second, please, Councillor.
Yes, please. I would like to hear the answer to that.
Yes, please go.
The Cheshire East did look extensively of where they could move them to that would be potentially equivalent, and they have moved them to King Edward Street. There is now disabled spaces on King Edward Street that that down by the side of the Bait Hall. So you would go down the Ginnell by the side of the Bait Hall and it would take you to Chestergate. So it just brings you up a bit higher into Chestergate. But the 4 spaces down Unicorn Way are untouched. They're still there for disabled spaces.
Councillor Harewood, would you like to continue?
Thank you for that, because those are hard fought for spaces. And when they're gone, they're gone. Hard fought for spaces. And this is a town that's got a lot of older people and disabled people. And when that's removed, I'm grateful that it has been replaced with something else. Thank you for that.
Could I just point out, Councillor Harewood, I know you've served on the council for many years. It's right outside Stewart House, which used to be the social services building. Okay, Councillor Jackson, please.
Yes, so just to come back, Deputy Mayor, but this issue around having to remove the and relocate the disability spaces, the disabled spaces, was an issue which the town council raised immediately when we saw that this was the proposed space for the outdoor. Straight away we said, well, unless an appropriate replacement spaces can be found, it's not going to be possible, because we certainly were not wanting to to say to the disabled motorists, sorry, you'll just have to go and find somewhere else, just like that. We had to make sure that we had the consultation and ensure that the spaces were appropriate and located as close to the town centre as was possible. So it was very much, it looked into, Councillor Harewood, to ensure that it would be satisfactory to all concerned. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Good, thank you. Councillor Hutchison, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to support this again by just pointing out that the town recovery plan is being led by a democratically elected accountable group, and coordinating this plan with Cheshire East, which has given us that opportunity to work closely with the county councillors, and also with tremendous support by private enterprise in the town and the residents. So it seems like this is a fantastic example of where we've all worked together to provide impetus, all pushing in the same direction. And this particular example here is a great example of that in action. And again, the town council supporting our businesses and our residents who will enjoy those facilities.
Sorry, did you want to come back, Councillor Jackson?
No.
No. Okay, we've proposed by Councillor Jackson and seconded by Councillor Wilson. Any other speakers at all? Everybody happy? Okay, can we go to the vote then, please? Thank you. Right.
I'd just like to highlight the time to you.
Is it bad?
18 minutes to 9. So
well, we've nearly finished, haven't we?
Okay.
I won't tell any stories. Right. Item 15, South Park Pavilion action to approve the heads of terms. Could I ask Councillor Jackson to start, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mindful of the time, I won't go on too long, but just to say this is just a fantastic good news item. We've now finally got the heads of terms. It's been a long time coming, but we have got them now, and we've also got we've got the South Park Pavilion, 150 years lease. That's really good, considering when we initially started the process, we were only going to be offered 30 years, which really was not, just not worth doing really. So 150 years transfer to us with a rent of £1 a year, if demanded, it says. So I tend to think we probably won't have to pay that. So just very briefly, the committee's uses for us, we can have a cafe, and we can hold community events, any ad hoc events we want to. So we're thinking we might be able to get sort of the odd wedding there or something like that. But and obviously we will see as things progress, the plans. We have to get produce a business plan, and obviously plans for the building, and we will have to get a business loan, all that sort of thing. So there's a lot to be done. But one thing I must say is we do have a very good friend of the parks. It's called Spark, South Park Group, and a number of us are on that. And they're very active, very proactive, and I think they will certainly want to be quite highly involved with us on this. So I'm hoping that you would approve the heads of terms so that we can go ahead. We've got this challenge because the park was opened in 1922, so the centenary is 2022. When we started this, we thought we might actually have the building. Don't think that's going to be the case, but you never know. We might have got it demolished and a stone laid, the foundation stone laid for the start of it. Maybe we'll have got that far by then. But I hope you will all support it, and I'll just propose the motion. Thank you.
So Councillor Jackson was the lead speaker and is now proposing the motion. Councillor Wilson, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Myself and Councillor Jackson and the Town Clerk were the team of people who have been discussing the lease with Cheshire East Council. And I did, like Councillor Jackson, start off thinking we'd have our new pavilion for the 100th anniversary. Then I thought we might not even get the heads of terms by the 100th anniversary. So in fact, we've done really well in getting to this situation as in the time we have. And this is excellent news. I spend a lot of my time in South Park. I'm in there every day, getting my government permitted exercise, and there's so much activity going on in there. Park Run will be commencing again very shortly in line with government guidelines, and that brings hundreds of people to the park every Saturday. You'll also see from the permitted uses that we've got permitted use to have an outdoor seating area, which is important in these COVID times. So really very delighted to second the proposal that we agree these heads of terms. I think this is a really, really good and positive development, and another example of us being able to work well with our Cheshire East Council colleagues, and along with the residents in the community who will be fully involved in the consultation as we move forward on this. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Right, we've got a proposer, which is Councillor Jackson, and a seconder is Councillor Wilson. Are there any other speakers on this item? No? Can we go to the vote, please? Can I have a show of hands? Thank you very much. That's carried. Item 16, freedom of the town. Action to approve the proposal. Proposal is on page 306, and I understand that Councillor Jackson would like to speak.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, this was my members' item at the last Services Committee. So I would like to request that the Town Council consider giving freedom of the town to all those amazing, caring and brave doctors and nurses working in the ICU and the COVID wards at Macclesfield Hospital. It is hard to put into words the self-sacrifice that they have made for all of us, and we must not let it go unrecognised or unappreciated. I cannot think of a better use of the granting of the freedom of the town than to these very special people. I know that there are lots of other amazing stories across the borough and in the hospital as well, but these are a special group of people who have taken commitment and dedication to a different level. I can't think of a better use of freedom of the town to recognise people in what is our equivalent of the Great Wars. Therefore, I'd like to propose that we hold a meeting to pass this resolution on the 14th of June 2021 at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconder, Councillor Wilcox. Yeah, thank you. And can I have any speakers? Councillor Harewood, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Come to you, Councillor Potter.
I like the idea. Will this be all the nurses, all the doctors, and what will freedom of the town mean? What do you do when you have freedom of the? I'm sorry, because I will come, because this is a moving population. Who will they be? Will they be specific or all? And what will they do with it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Jackson, can you come back on that, please?
Yes, I will. One of the things we're very mindful of is how many people would receive this honour, because if it devalues the honour if you have many people receiving it. So we want it to be special. So what we've done is we're speaking with the hospital, and they have their schemes for awarding for special services, outstanding work at the hospital. They know the individuals who have gone above and beyond the call of duty. And so we are working with them to identify a number of people who would, doctors and nurses, who would receive this honour. Now, the freedom of the town doesn't really convey any privileges on the person. You know, it's not like, as I've said to some people, it's not like, well, you can go to the cinema free for the rest of your life or something like that. It's really just a great honour from the town to recognise the valuable work that they have done to support the town, the community, the residents. And we are relying on the hospital to identify the individuals who we will then award the honour to. And then they will just receive a certificate, and we will have the mayor awarding those to them. And they will just have that as an honour, which they can, you know, add to their CVs or, you know, however they wish to. But that's how freedom of the town works. It doesn't give the person any privileges, and we have to ensure that it is just a nice number of people. You know, it's not going to be lots of people, and they will be identified by the hospital because they know who are the doctors and nurses who would deserve this honour.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I am mindful of the time, and
Yes,
we've got
sorry.
about 8 minutes left. Councillor Harewood, does that answer your question? You're on mute.
I like the idea, but I can't see. It's too claustrophobic. I just like the idea, but I can't see who they will identify. This is going to be favoritism, and I like the idea, Councillor Jackson, don't get me wrong, but this kind of favoritism on not many but a few, and who are these few? I don't want to say I've been 5 decades in the health service. I'm uncomfortable with it. I like it though. I like the idea. I'm uncomfortable with it. So I hope it goes all right.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harewood. We've got a proposer, Councillor Jackson. We've got a seconder, Councillor Wilson, I think it was. Was it Wilson? Can we go to the vote, please? Thank you. And one abstention, Councillor Harewood.
And Councillor Warren, if you can hear or put in the chat.
Yeah, I'm for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. And
the last main item is the Middlewood Way lights action to approve the cost of £32,030. And I understand that Councillor Wilson would like to lead on this.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. You'll all recall that this was a member item of mine going back to June 2019. The town clerk has circulated an update on the various decisions that we've taken on this. In June 19, we agreed we wanted to relight the Middlewood Way, but we would seek Cheshire East Council to assist with the cost of that. And then a full council, in your documents it says 3/6/19, but it should be 5/15/7/19. We were still awaiting for a decision from Cheshire East Council. But then in June 2020, pushed now by the impetus of the COVID crisis, we determined that we would actually relight the Middlewood Way and we would fund this ourselves. Now this has started being an active travel project and turned into a COVID recovery project. And I'm very pleased to say that it meets Councillor Puttick's requirements for us to do things that aren't just about drinking. Because of course the Middlewood Way is another way for people to get into Stockport and Manchester to work. Our ambition is to link in with cycle routes so people can cycle into work. When I worked in Manchester, many of my colleagues cycled long distances to get into Manchester to work. I personally use the Middlewood Way for running, and I know people use it for walking, and I know people use it for leisure and to get to work and back. Now, we had originally a cost of £29,880. This work is going to be carried out by Cheshire East Highways Department. We've received now an additional cost for 32,000, so that's an increase of just over £2,000. So in the 12 months that's taken place, I think that increase isn't unreasonable. And so I would like us now to agree this. We've agreed to do it subject to knowing what the additional costs are. Now we know what the additional costs are, I propose that we go ahead and we relight the Middlewood Way for all the reasons that I have stated. We have been asked to pay a levy for external works of £2,372, but we have gone back and said to Cheshire East Council that these actually aren't external works. They are works that we are replacing the lighting that was not previously be able to be afforded by Cheshire East Council. So they're not external works, and we're in the process of drafting a letter to go to our colleagues at Cheshire East Council to question this, because they're not external works. So I'm sure we can come to a negotiated conclusion on that, bearing in mind that we're taking action for a COVID recovery and an active travel response. It's a perfect way to get people through Macclesfield into Bollington and beyond into Stockport and Manchester. We've taken this decision, we're going to do this now 3 times, and I'd like us now to agree we're going to pay the money and get on with it and relight the Middlewood Way. And while I'm on my feet, metaphorically speaking, it being 4 minutes to 9, can I move suspension of standing orders that we continue our meeting until 9:15 to enable us to complete this agenda item and the rest of our agenda, which I think probably won't take too long after this. So I'll do both of those things at the same time, if that's okay, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Puttick, are you seconding it?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second it. I personally attach my dog to a bike, which helps me. It gives both myself and the dog exercise. Sometimes we overshoot and go all the way to sort of Poynton and beyond. But it's quite seriously though, Councillor Wilson has highlighted the fact that this is we've attempted many times to get this through, and now we have the opportunity to, and I thoroughly support that. I think that really, I think to the public, anyone watching on YouTube, it's pretty obvious the ambition of our council to really promote active travel and connecting to nearby towns. I mean, really, I'd like to be looking now towards the Bollin Valley, connecting to Prestbury, towards connecting, like how are we going to, with the level of building going on in Henbury, proposed in the future, Goresworth, how are we going to make sure that people from those villages, from Sutton, continue to be able to get into the town without having to drive? So getting this done is really gives us the chance to actually start looking at other opportunities for the rest of the wards as well. So I thoroughly approve.
Thank you, Councillor Puttick. Any other speakers on this, please? Councillor Harewood, thank you.
I just wanted to ask, have you got a date for commencing, or is it still to be done? Have you got a date for commencing?
Councillor Wilson, can you come back on that? Thank you.
Yes, Cheshire East Highways have advised that materials are on the 6 to 10 week delivery, but this could change due to tier changes within COVID-19. It's actually in the documents in the pack, Chair. So once we've agreed the funding, it's going to be a 6 to 10 week delivery. So we haven't got an actual start and end date because it would be inappropriate to do that before we got the agreement of the full council. But I anticipated it would take maximum 3 months, hopefully shorter.
Excellent. Councillor Harewood, would you like to come back? Is that okay? Councillor Hutchison, you've got a bicycle.
Yes, I was going to say something about using buses before. Yeah, the more buses, the more bikes, the more feet we use, then the better it's going to be for the environment, and just get rid of these fossil fuels, burning them away. Yeah, fully in support of environmental thing.
I beg your pardon. On a personal note, I do hope we get this link of mine from Manchester Road through to the Middlewood Way. It's a part of the sort of network of cycling, and it'll make a tremendous difference to the route and the use of Middlewood Way. Thank you. So we have a proposer who's Councillor Wilson, and we have a seconder who's Councillor Puttick. And can we go to the vote, please? All those in favour?
For.
Thank you very much, Councillor Warren. And we're nearly there. Councillor 18, item 18, members' items. I understand that there are no members' items. No, thank you.
No, Chair.
Number 19, item 19, correspondence. I understand there's no correspondence. Then we come to item 20, date, time and place of next meeting. First of all, I'd just like to point out that the annual parish meeting is on Monday, the 19th of April on Zoom. Anyone wishing to speak or ask questions is asked to submit it by the 15th, noon on the 15th of April. I always wonder whether I should say something about Hanforth, but I always hold it back. Our next meeting of the council is quite an exciting one that I hope that everyone comes to, which is on the 17th of May at 7 o'clock. We haven't the faintest idea where it's going to be at the moment. And it will be obviously subject to COVID-19 restrictions and related regulations. And if everybody's happy, we'll call the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye.